Alright, so we appear to be recording, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run through my little demo really quick on placing stories, photos, and copy on the InDesign file for our semester project. I've already downloaded the file from the semester project website. I've also downloaded the crash story and a crash photo to show as samples, and I've just kept those in my downloads folder for now. Now I'm doing this demo on a Mac, so there may be some differences between this and a PC. I also am running the newest version of the InDesign software through Adobe's Creative Cloud, so there may be some differences between what you see here and the machines that are on the computer lab. I mean the software that's on the machines in the computer lab. So let's see if we can get this bad boy going. Alright, here's my main InDesign page, and as you can see I can only see part of it. If I want to see the whole page I can hit Command 0 and that will fit the whole page in my window. Quick rundown of we already talked about this in class, but I'll do a quick rundown of some of the tools that we'll use. First of all, this is a 2-page file, as most of you know by now, and there's page 1 and there's page 2. Page 2 is where you're going to strip your jumps. Okay, and you can see your pages by clicking on the Pages flyout window. If you want to close a flyout window, just hit those double arrows. Okay, and if you don't see anything in these windows over here that you're looking for, you can find them over here under Window. And as I told you in class also, if you ever lose your toolbar for any reason, you can just go to Window and choose Tools. The default position for the toolbar should be up here. Alright, so I'm going to streamline some of this because we have already talked about it in class at this point. But this is basically just a run through the process of placing stories and photos. As you can see, if I want to move things around on the page, I can go to my selection tool, highlight things, just drag around them, click and drag, and you can pick them up and move them around. You can move multiple items at once. So I'm just moving these items out of my way. I'm going to move this extra headline out of my way, and just like we did in an in-class demo, I'm going to build a 5-column package up here with a story and the crash photo and a 5-column headline. So first things first, this is what my page looks like without with the guides showing, that show the columns and the margins and so forth. If I want to zoom in on a portion of the page, I can click on the magnifying glass tool down here, click and drag, show me the top part of the page. I can scroll up and down, of course. And let's just do like we did in class. I'm going to click on the type tool and change the name of my fictitious newspaper. Alright, just like that. You can name your newspaper anything you want. You can design a custom header if you want. You can use your own fonts or anything that you want up here. It's not a requirement of the project. I'm going to click on the line tool though because I want to make a line that goes all the way across the page to separate my flag from my news hole. So I'm going to actually hold the shift key down so I can create a perpendicular line. That way it doesn't go all diagonal on me. So I'm going to click right where I want the line to start, hold the shift key down, and I'm going to drag all the way across the page. And I'm going to get to the end of the page, and then I'm going to release. Now I'm going to click on my selection tool, and I have a line drawn there, but it's hard to see because it's right on top of that blue guide, which is drawn at the 2.5-inch mark, which is the maximum depth of your flag in this project. So if I want to see what my page is going to look like without all the guides, I can just hit, as long as I'm using the selection tool or I'm clicked into dead space, I can just hit W, and that toggles back and forth between a print preview and the view with the guides showing. So there my print preview shows what the page will really look like if it were printed out. And I'm going to click on my line, and I'm going to go up here at the top, like what I like to call the sissy bar. And this command right here that I'm hovering over is how you change the point size of a line. So I'm going to just bump that up a couple points, make it a little thicker, just for fun. Alright, so that's drawing a line. All of the things that I might want to adjust on a line can be found up here in the top menu bar. Most of them you don't need to worry about at this point in this project. Hit W again. Now I want my headline to be 5 columns, and the sample is drawn at 6. I could copy it and paste it using the selection tool if I want to make another one. I'm going to delete that though. Or I can take the one that's there and just modify it. I'm going to tug this in, just click and drag, so that I'm now at 5 columns, which is what I say I dummied a 5-column headline. And let's say I dummied a 54-point headline instead of 60. So I'm going to click in with the type tool and hit Control A or Command A, depending on which kind of machine you're on. And I'm going to go up here into this dialog and I'm going to change the 60 to a 54. 54 isn't one of the choices, so I can just type 54 in there, not 5400. Or I can manually go up and down a point at a time if I want as well with the little arrows. So now I'm going to change this to 54-point headline. All right, so that's my sample 54-point headline. If I were dealing with a multi-line headline like one of these, just for the sake of argument, say I had a one-column 36-point headline that I dummied. I could copy the sample and paste it and move it where I want, and then change the point size, highlight the whole thing, go up here and say, oh, this is supposed to be a 36 according to my dummy. Oops, it doesn't fit anymore. Let me drag. Okay, because the leading on the headlines is set to automatically adjust, and that one just doesn't fit because it's too big. So I'll type. There we go. Now I'm going to make my text box conform to the size of the headline because I don't want extra text boxes that are interfering with things, you know, extra depth or whatever. So then I would put that headline wherever I really need it to be. Okay. And you shouldn't have to worry about changing leading on headlines. Like if I click in here, I can go to the character window, and that shows me what the leading is. This is the point size of my type, and this is the leading. And the leading on the headlines that I've given you is set for automatic leading, so you shouldn't have to bother adjusting it. If you did want to adjust the leading to make it either looser or tighter, you could do it in there. If you just leave it on auto, you should be pretty safe. Close that out. Alright, let's start by placing a story in here. And there are several different ways you can do this, but for our purposes, I think it's simplest if you draw a text box and then paste the story in. You can actually import a Word file directly into InDesign, but I think this is going to work better for you guys in terms of formatting. So I just drew a text box approximately the size of where my story is going to be based on my dummy. And now I'm going to go find the story. Ooh, you know, I have a little wrinkle. My Microsoft Word's not working on this computer. So I'm actually, since I'm using a Mac, I'm going to use Pages to open that story. So that's going to take a second. But if you're using a PC, just obviously open the story in Word. While we're waiting on that, this is being done with a classroom full of people. Everybody say hi to the video.
Hi, video.
That was weak. Come on.
Hi, video.
Hi. I haven't seen this much crowd in here on a Tuesday morning in a long time. All right, thank you. That was still weak. All right. Now we're waiting on Pages. You know, while Pages is doing its thing, I'm just going to import the photo. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I may edit this delay out later. Pages is not cooperating. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to place the Word file in. So I'm going to go to, I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to choose Place. So this is the other way to do it, other than the way I showed you in class. The way I prefer you do it is to open the Word file, copy the text, and paste it. But instead, I'm just going to go ahead and import this crash story, just like I'm importing a photo, except it's a story. There's my loaded cursor. I'm just going to drop it right here for now. So there's my text, and in fact what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight this whole story, Command A, copy. I'm going to paste it into the text box I drew. So that's where I want it. Okay, so whether you've pasted it in from Word or from importing the Word document into InDesign, either way, now you've got this story in a 5-column text box. But wait, you might say, I want that story to go 5 legs of text across 5 columns of space, and right now it's one big wide column of text, which we don't want. So I'm just very simply is going to go up here into the sissy bar, and up to the top right. If you hover, it'll say number of columns. That's the one you want. You can just change that value. You can plug in your value by hand, or you can just click up and down on the little arrows. So let's say I want that to be 5. There we go. Now I've got 5 columns. And this story doesn't look at all like news copy, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the style sheets that have been provided in the InDesign file. So I'm going to use the type tool. I'm going to click into the story. I'm going to hit Command A to highlight the whole mess. I'm going to go over here to paragraph styles. And if you don't see paragraph styles over here in the sidebar, you can go to Window and go to Type and Table. No, it's under Styles, I'm sorry. Styles is where you'd find paragraph styles or character styles. I've set up some paragraph style sheets for this document to simplify your formatting. And you know, it may take some massaging still even with the style sheets, but this should help you. So I'm just going to click on paragraph styles and choose body copy. And now it looks like a newspaper copy, right? It's what you should see. Let me zoom in on this so you can see it. What you should see is, boy, I'm not right on the guides here either. You want to be right on these guides, like that. This headline's not right on the guides either. Boom, fixed. What you should see is the style sheet I've given you is Times New Roman. Up here you can see this Times New Roman. 10-point type on 11-point leading. Regular, okay. And the alignment should be, and that's up here, justify with last line aligned left. That means that all the lines of the paragraph are justified except the last one. Okay, and that's the right look. If you don't like my style sheet, you can make your own and create your own body copy style. That's perfectly fine, so long as you're consistent. Just make sure that you're consistent. Oh, I also want to use a style sheet for my my byline, just so that it makes it look a little different from the body copy. So I've given you a simple byline style sheet. Byline 1 for the top line, and byline 2 for the bottom line. You just highlight the text. Oh, wait a minute. If it does that to you, if one style sheet applies to 2 paragraphs, just put a new return character between them, and that should take care of it. So you just highlight the text and click on byline 1. There you go. So whenever you want to apply a style sheet to text, you just highlight the text and then click on the style sheet. It should apply it. So there you go. Now we've got a formatted story. Okay, I just zoomed out. I'm going to zoom back in on this whole situation. Let's say I'm writing my headline. Here's a freebie. Crash. Let's say I'm going to go down style. Newborn. Crash kills new parents. Oh, that's a little short. Yeah, close. All right, so, oh, and also, by the way, when you get these little paragraphs at the end of a story where, say, you know, people are being encouraged to call if they have information or whatever, I like to italicize those just for giggles. So I'll go up here and say italic there. That looks like we did it on purpose. All right, so now I have a story. I have a headline. Oh, you know what? I better save my file. Save frequently. I'm just going to save this to my desktop. Put your name in your file name, please, because then when you export your file to a PDF later on, your name will be on the PDF, which would be good. All right, now I'm going to place the photo. I'm going to go click on my selection tool. I'm going to choose File, Place. And I'm going to go find my photo. Wait a minute, I want to make sure I'm not in a text window. Just click on dead space. File, Place. There's my truck TC horizontal. Click on Open. It gives me the loaded cursor again. And wherever I click next, it's going to drop it. So I'm going to try to click it exactly at the top left of where I want that photo to be. Boom. Okay. Now, a couple little glitches here. We've got, obviously, I dummied a 4-column photo. And this photo, when I drop it in, is a little bit wider than 4 columns. So I'm going to have to fix that. I can either crop it or resize it, and I'll show you both. Also, my photo is blocking out my text, which I don't want. Everything in InDesign is in layers, just as it is on most design programs or graphics programs. If you wanted to see the layers, you could go to the Layers flyout window and then just open this up. Layer 1 shows you how everything's layered. The thing that's on the top is in front and will block everything else out that's behind it. So you can see that my photo here is on the top layer because it's the most recent thing I placed. The next thing down is my story because that was the next most recent thing I placed. If I wanted to arrange those things differently, I can go over here to Object, Arrange, and then I can bring something to the front or the back, like if I select it. So suppose I wanted to bring this story to the front. I could go to click on it, go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Sometimes if you're having trouble clicking on things, if you're trying to click on something and it won't select it, that could be an indicator that you've got something buried behind another layer. But I'm going to send that back to the back. But as you can see, my photo is blocking out my story. Easiest fix for that, you can click on the photo and we're going to apply a text wrap to it. You apply the text wrap to the thing that you want text to wrap around. So I want text to wrap around this photo, so I'm going to apply a text wrap to it. There is a whole text wrap dialog window that you could go over in here on the flyout menu, or you can just go up into the sissy bar, and the object that's the default setting is no text wrap. I'm just going to go to the next button down, wrap around object shape. So get the photo selected, click on the button, boom. Okay. Now if I wanted to really fine tune how that object wrap goes, I can go to the text wrap window and I can, for example, change the amount of space that is allowed around an object and all that sort of thing. I'm not going to worry about that right now though. Now let's look at this without all the guides. I'm going to hit W again, print preview. That's what my page looks like so far. We'll zoom out. That's what the whole page looks like. I'm making headway. I'll zoom back in on this area again. But one thing you'll notice is that the back of the semi-trailer is like white as can be, and it blends in with the background of the page. That points out that I do like to have a frame on my images. So I'm going to click on that photo. Very simple. Up here in the sissy bar where it says stroke, right now there's no stroke selected. I'm just going to change that to black. And you'll see up here it says 1 point. That means I've got a 1 point black stroke now around the photo. And that's fine. You can get away with a thinner stroke if you like, if you want to go to a half a point, but 1 point's fine. Okay. Let me see my guides again. Alright. So now what I'm going to do is, let me get this photo sized correctly. Couple things I could do. I can just click on the photo with the selection tool, and I can bring my my photo window, the box, the frame, to the guide that I want. Okay, now if I leave it like that, composition wise I've really kind of trimmed him off a little bit too much. I could then select the direct selection tool, which is the next arrow down, and that allows me to manipulate the content of the photo box. I can use the arrow keys to nudge the photo around within the box without moving the box. So if I wanted to crop the photo, that's one way to do it. Okay. Or if I say, wow, I really want to make the whole photo fit, I'll go back to my selection tool, and then I can select the box, the photo box, and go up to Object, and there's a command called Fitting, and there are two here, Fill Frame Proportionally and Fit Content Proportionally, and they do two different things. Whatever you do, you don't want to choose one of the ones down here because they will stretch your image one way or another. We do not want to stretch the image, so you want to use one of these options that uses the word proportionally. If I say fit content proportionally, it's going to make the whole photo fit, no matter how big my box is. So if my box has to be reduced in height to accommodate the photo fitting that way, then I would have to pull those margins in. Right? So that gives me the full photo, but that makes the photo shallower. Now let's say I want to undo that. If I want to undo anything, by the way, I can either go up here to File, Edit, Undo, or I can use the shortcut command, which appears on the right side there next to it, which is a Command Z. So I'm just going to undo resize item. I'm going to undo resize item, and go back to my other fitting option, which is Object, Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionally, which means I've got the frame drawn, and it's going to make my photo fill the frame proportionally without stretching it. But that may mean that some of the image is cropped off, as we've got here. And I'm going to leave it that way. I'm going to go back to my direct selection tool, maybe nudge this over a little bit. On this image, I don't want to crop into that tire on the front of the truck that's stuck under the big rig, but I also want to get as much of the deputy as I can. Look, and you see he's actually already cropped a little bit anyway, so maybe right in there. That's probably okay. Decent crop. Alright, and we said to dummy that photo at about 3.75 or 85 inches to 4 inches deep if you're using 4 columns, and right now it's at 3.88, so it's right in there. Close enough for government work. Hit a W just to see what it was looking like. Alright, we're good so far. Next, let's put the photo caption in. I've given you sample captions. If you don't like my caption style, you can make your own, but these work for our purposes. I'm just going to take one of them, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to put it where I want it, which is right below the photo, 4 columns wide. So I'm going to drag one of these handles to make it 4 columns wide. Boom. Alright. Now, again, we have the same problem. It's running right over my story. So let's just say I'm going to apply a text wrap to that caption, because you can apply a text wrap to a text object. And there you go. It'll nudge my story down a little bit. I'm going to put the caption where I want it. And then what's a nice touch, and there are other ways to do this that are more sophisticated. There's something called a baseline grid that you can use, but we're not going to worry about getting to that point in this project. But if you have the opportunity, you could just take this caption box, since it's got a text wrap on it, and you can nudge it down a little bit to make your lines of your columns line up with each other, because it'll look cleaner that way, right? And if you do that, now these lines line up with each other. That looks a little more tidy. Okay, so now I've got my caption, and I would write my caption in this box, you know, just like I wrote my headline, caption, 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 blah, 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 right? There we go. Just copy and paste. Let's end there. Remember, on your captions, we want you to fill as much of the available space as you can. Alright, now let's say for the sake of argument that I dummied about an inch of copy to go below the photo, and that's about what we've got here, right? Going from the 8-inch mark to the 9-inch mark, give or take, right? But now my story is going to jump, and as you can see, I get to the end of the story and there's that little pink box. What's frustrating to me about that little pink box is that even if I zoom in, it doesn't get any bigger. So I still have to have good eyes to see it. But if I were to click on that little pink box, or double click on it, I guess. Oops, wait a minute, undo. Double click on the little pink box. Nope. Maybe it's a single click. I always forget. Why am I not getting my jump copy? Hold on. That little pink box is supposed to give you the jump copy. Click. There you go. Single click. Alright. So now the rest of the story is loaded in my cursor, right? And it's going to drop wherever I drop it next. Let me zoom out. It won't take it away from me. And I can just simply scroll down to my jump page. And the next place I click is where that story is going to drop the jump. So I'm going to click right here. Your jump page does not have to be formatted, but the jumps do have to be there so that I can read them and check how your editing of the story went. So there's the rest of my crash story, right? And the nice thing about this is that if I make a change up here in the top of the story, say I go, oh, I forgot to put in a sub-headline or something, or if I do something that changes the length of the story, it will automatically reflow the jump so that everything makes sense. So that's good. Now, one more thing I need over here, if I'm thinking of my readers, I'm going to zoom in on this. I get to the end of the story, and it just drops off in mid-sentence. We don't want that. We want to tell the reader where to go to find the rest of the story. So I'm going to go to the Type tool. I'm going to draw a little text box. And I'm going to make a jump headline. Or a jump line, actually, we call this. So I'm just going to make a text box. I'm going to say C, crash, page 2, whatever. And you can format that any way you want. You know, it should look somehow different from your story copy. You know, maybe I'm just going to use bold type, and maybe I'm going to flush it right. I'll use the alignment buttons up here. Okay. Or you can change the font, whatever you want to do, so long as you're consistent. They should all look the same if you have multiple jump lines. But it should set it off from the copy a little bit. Now the last thing I want to do is I want to move this jump line right here where the last line of the story is. And again, it runs over the copy, so I'm just going to add a text wrap to that. Click, boom. So now my story automatically wraps around my jump line. So if I make a change in the story, I don't have to move the jump line around or anything like that. Alright, so that's my quickie rundown. I'm sure I forgot stuff, but hopefully this gives you enough information that you can get through placing stories and photos and captions and headlines and so forth to build your page. Oh, let's do one more little thing. I'm going to put a line over here. Say I want to put a line between this headline and this story and the one over here. I'm going to hold shift again, but I'm going to draw vertically. I'm going to split that gutter right in between. There we go. And then I would put my others, say, you know, just for the sake of argument, I'm going to take this headline and put it up here. You know, before you know it, you've got a page almost done, right? And boom, right? And then I would place my next story here and so on. Alright, so that's my page. I hit W to see what it looks like. zoom out to see what it looks like. That's as far as I got today. And I will post this video, and hopefully it helps.